Hey, how's it going? We are in the middle. I'm going to be looking down at my computer here. So I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at the computer just a little bit. I'm going to try and fiddle with some settings here, try and make things right. Let's see, we're at 60. That looks good. Beard looks good. Hair looks good. Got my hammer shirt on. So generally, it looks like I am streaming to 3 different locations right now. It looks like YouTube, Facebook being my personal Facebook page, and then also the Lion Punch Forge page. So if you have comments and you're able to comment, if I see them, I'll try and answer them in the comments. But right now, I started a little bit early so that if I had any kinks, I'd have them worked out. At the point I have no kinks. So far, so good. Let's see if I can get an idea of how many people got on here. I've got 9 people currently watching. So now that I got the hang of that part, we're going to go. The first part of this, before we actually start the live tutorial on how to turn, basically throwing metal, this guy into something like this using a rolling mill. And I'll zoom in on him. There you go. So we're going to try and turn this into this. So zoom out. Hey, and we'll do some Q&A, just basic kind of small housekeeping stuff in the beginning here. We are first actual tutorial live stream here in the Lion Punch Forge shop, studio, den, cave, Lion Punch Forge cave, Lion's Den. I like that, Lion's Den. We basically have computer down here. I've got 1 camera right now. Eventually, I'd like to add a few more camera angles. You're going to have to excuse me because I'm going to have to take this camera, mount it on this tripod here so you can see the rolling mill. The rolling mill itself is going to be kind of the star of today, but we're going to have a second guest star. And I'm going to show you here what we're going to go ahead and do. So if you guys have followed any of the live streams, any of the social media content, any of that kind of stuff, you'll know that the Orion welder is right over there. So what we're going to do is something that I have not seen any other artists do with the Orion welder. We are going to, let's see if I find it. We're going to create texture with a welder. So everybody loves, I know I do. If you love looking at, I'm using my Canon SL3 hooked to my computer as a webcam. So I hope it looks good. So what I'm going to end up doing is, you have seen welds, like an amazing welder just make these perfect weld beads. That's what we're going to go ahead and try and do with, I'll zoom in here, with the Orion. We're going to go ahead and try to create a nice weld texture on the ring band that we're going to go ahead and make. So that's going to be the second part of this video. The first part is going to be just basic rolling mill stuff, taking stock. I'll say this a couple times because a lot of people are going to ask. Make It Kate says I need to figure out how the crap to do that, how the crap to use your Canon camera as a webcam. Well, guess what? If you have a Canon camera and a computer and cords that connect the two, you can download a Canon webcam utility, and it, as long as your camera is compatible with all that, crap, you can use your DSLR as a webcam on your computer. Doesn't matter if you have Windows or a Mac. I'm currently using a Mac, but you can use either one. So the metal we're going to start with here, it would be helpful if I turn my calipers on, is going to be 6 millimeters wide, 2 millimeters thick, and I think I'm starting with 60 millimeters long. Yeah, 60 millimeters long, if you can see that. Still working out lighting. And I dropped it. So that's basically what we're going to go ahead and do, is start with that. If you guys have any questions down there yonder in the comments, go ahead and ask them. We're going to go ahead and get this started in, excuse me, just a few minutes. I'll move the camera down here so you can look at the rolling mill, not my face, and see exactly what's going on as I'm creating it, which is kind of the hard part with pre-filmed YouTube videos, getting the camera in there and all doing that. You guys are going to see in live action how long it takes me to do this, and go basically from regular stock to ring band. And this one's fun because I was able to use not only the square wire rollers, but also the half round. On this ring, the ring band, the top here, is rolled afterwards through the half rounds. So it's got a nice ring profile, half round top, flat back, and then a nice kind of generalized symmetrical band here. So we'll go ahead and do that. Flying Chef says, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Gabby. How are you? I have over here also set up. Let's see if I do this. And when I get you guys down here, you'll see I have my soldering station set up next to my rolling mill so that, so that I don't have to go over there and cut and anneal. You guys can see the entire process. That's what's going to be cool about this, is because I'll go from stock to ring band over to the welder, do texturing, and all that kind of fun stuff. Kate says, how about a random peanut gallery comment since I'm otherwise useless? Example, these are my calipers and here are my guns. Guns. Calipers. See the difference? These ones are smaller. Let's see. You might see that down there, my name in the screen is Lord Christopher. The actual title, since I am a Scottish landowner, is Lord Christopher of Lion Punch Forge. And to prove that, I have a certificate proclaiming such, Lord Christopher of Lion Punch Forge. So that's why it says Lord down there. I have land in Scotland, and therefore, by title only, doesn't mean anything. I can refer to myself as Lord Christopher of Lion Punch Forge. So we'll put him back. Oh, put it back safe. And then, what do you say? Should we get some started here? Paula says, awesome. Not what? What about not? It's true. Lord Christopher, Lion Punch Forge. Let's go ahead and see, that's the thing about the founding fathers, is that when they wrote the Constitution, they made it so that the lords and the ladies and all that was not a thing. They wouldn't recognize actual our landowners' titles, our royalty titles in the U.S. Constitution. However, Americans still can have that title, but it basically doesn't mean anything. You know, you don't get any special privileges by being Lord Christopher of Lion Punch Forge, unless you're talking about tools, jewelry, and being out there to kind of help all you guys. So a couple more comments here and we'll go. Not smaller. Let's see. Lady Cher from Cher's She Shop. Look forward to seeing the process. Let's see. Yeah. So what do you say? Let's take what's happening up here and move it down here so you can see you can see the other tool. Let's see. All right. One moment, please. And if you have seasickness, I would recommend looking away now, because you might get a little bit sick from this whole process of switching cameras. Eventually, I'll get a switcher, and this will be a lot easier. But for now, it's not. And this is what it is. So there we go. All right. So let's move him back. We can kind of see the rolling mill. Oh, hey there, rolling mill. You guys see that okay? I'm trying to direct the light up here a little bit more towards the rolling mill. Still getting used to this lighting YouTube thing. Bear with me. All right, so we are there, and we are about to make some stuff. Now, first thing, rolling mill wise, anytime I go from using it to not using to using it again, I clean it. And to do that, I have a plastic bag with a rag that has been kind of saturated in cleaning solutions and stuff. I have a Delrin rod. You can use a wood rod, but I take that and I wrap it around my rod, and then I feed this through my rolling mill. Open this up all the way. The reason it's in a plastic bag is because I don't want it to get contaminated. And then once I'm able to feed that through, I'll tighten my rollers down, and I will add a little bit of my favorite lube, if I can find it. All right, so I have an Amazon store now, and any of the products you kind of see on the video, I'm going to try and link those to the Amazon store, unless I do have a favorite, unless like Pepetools has it, and then I have an affiliate link for that. So anything you get off the Amazon store goes toward helping the forge. Anything you use to click to Pepetools from any of my websites or my links helps the forge. I get a little bit of kickback from that stuff. So yeah, it helps. So this is linked to the Amazon store. It's CRC 336. It's a multi-purpose lubricant and corrosion inhibitor. I think it's like $5 on Amazon. And what I'll do is I'll roll my towel out, spray it down both sides, and then I'm just going to roll. Tighten it down if I need to. And if you use a big puffy towel, kind of like this, it'll get in between the rollers and just keep things nice and lubricated and all that kind of fun. I use an old bed sheet that I cut and then kind of sewn together to make it as a cover. But even after that, after I finish rolling for the day, and then when I begin again, I like to run through and just kind of give it a once over oiling, especially if you use if you're quenching in between your rolling, which we are going to be doing today, that's introducing moisture to your rolling mill. And that's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do, is let that moisture stay there. So I use a rust inhibitor and a lubricant to kind of keep things going nice and clean. This is the product that I like. Set that right there real fast. And I'm just cranking my mill. That's it. And then I'll undo my rollers and pull out my towel that's still saturated in oil. And I'll change this out every once in a while, but I'll throw it back in the bag so I don't have any sawdust, metal shaving contaminants. It does not smell badly. It smells like fresh and clean is kind of what I'd relate it to. I would not use, absolutely 100% not use WD-40. WD-40 is a moisture inhibitor, but it also attracts dust. So anything floating in the air could potentially be attached to your mill with that. I like using this because it's an inhibitor and a lubricant, and you don't have the sticky, messy, icky stuff. So let me find a towel. I thought I had everything set up, but I didn't. And now I'm just going to go through and wipe off any excess. And I'll try and get the schmoo out of the grooves. So that's basically how I clean my mill before I use it. All right, now we get down to the good stuff. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to direct you guys down here to the drawing board, and we are going to talk about what is happening. So we're going to take this guy here, and we're going to go ahead. 3-in-1 oil is good. What's up, Stacy? How are you? 3-in-1 oil is good, but 3-in-1 oil acts as a lubricant, but not also a inhibitor. So you can, I like the combination of the two. Plus it doesn't smell bad, and it's, yeah, in a green can, which is my favorite color. Here we basically is kind of the process that we're going to be going through. This is the weld texture that we're going to be using on the ring shank. This is approximately what the ring shank is going to look like once it gets done going through the process. And here is what the ring shank is going to start at. So starting it, turn calipers on, we are looking at 6 millimeters wide, 60 millimeters long, and I believe 2 millimeters thick. Yeah. Where are you guys? There you are. This is the hard part, getting used to things. So 2 millimeters thick. So before I start rolling or doing anything with the mill, I'm going to get down here so I can look at what I'm doing. I want to do a couple layout lines. That layout line, first one is going to be center. So I'm looking for 30 millimeters. Close enough. Try and do that on camera. That's fun. I'm going to go on both sides of the stock, and what it's going to do is give me exact center just in case it's off a little bit. So I'll mark that. Okay. Now that we have that, we have our center, which is 30 millimeters. I want to kind of get an idea how big I want the center of my ring to be. In my case, I'll probably end up making this for me, a personal ring that I'll wear. I want the ring to be the top of it to be about 20 millimeters. So I'll set my calipers to 10 millimeters. Now let's do 8 millimeters. So we'll make it 16. There's no magic to this. I'm just flying by the seat of my panties. Now look at that, see what I like it. I don't. I'm going to bring it down to 6 millimeters. And we'll mark it. So that is basically what we're looking at. These are basically our layout lines. So we have our center, and then we have basically our rolling stop. So when we're rolling this, I'm going to go up to those lines and stop. So to create this taper, there's a couple things we're going to take advantage of. We're going to take advantage of the geometry of the rolling mill and have it assist us in doing that. So think of that as your rolling mill circumference. So the circumference of your rolling mill. What we're doing is we're taking the rolls and we are trying to get you guys zoomed. We're going to use the circumference of the rolls to make these round areas on the top and bottom, because the rollers are concentric to each other. So when I roll this through, I'm going to get concentric patterns on both sides. So right there, my ring is on end, but it's being held between the top and the bottom roller right against that shoulder. So that shoulder is what I'm looking to start by creating these marks. So to begin with, I'm going to use the square rollers. And the reason for that is that it fits in there really nice as kind of, when you roll wire like this through flats, it has a tendency to want to crank one side to the other. But these guys are nice because they allow for a nice little groove for that wire to roll in. And I've tightened down my rollers so that it touches. The wire will move back and forth, but this is what's referred to as a dead pass. And that dead pass means you're not doing any sort of work on that material. It's basically clamping it, but it's not forcing it in any direction. The other thing I'm going to do is make sure that I pay attention to which groove I'm in. So I'm in that groove. I'm in the groove. So now that I have my dead pass set, I'm going to crank it down up here on the rolling mill. Try and do a little both of this. Move you guys right in front. You got a front seat. So I have this set at my dead pass. I'm not going to do a whole lot of measuring. I'm basically going to figure out where dead pass is, which is here. And then I'm going to take my handle and I'm going to not do very much. I'm just going to crank maybe a quarter and I'm going to roll it through to where that line is. And then I'm going to pull it back out. Then I'm going to flip and roll it through on that same circumference, the other side. And what I'm doing is I'm starting to compress that metal here and here. And I don't like how far I went here. I want to go a little bit farther, so I'm going to do another pass. And I'll do another pass on this other side as well. So I'm liking the way that looks. And then I'm going to go up here, quarter turn. Switch it around, quarter turn. And what I'm ending up doing is creating a high area here, here, and low areas on either side. I'm inspecting my metal. I don't see any curling right now. If I start to see curling of that metal, I'm going to go ahead and anneal, because that means I'm starting to get hard. The metal particles are starting to get too stressed. So that's where annealing comes in. Quarter turn. Turn around, do the same thing, and you'll see on this pass, I actually do have some curling. See, I have curling on either side there. That curling is going to be your indicator for your metal starting to get a little bit too stressed. I'm going to do a little bit less than a quarter turn and do one more roll. And when you start this, you're not going to know where your stop point is. You're going to have to watch. But then as you get it going, you're going to have your stop point pretty obvious, because your mill's not going to want to let that metal through. So right here, it's stopped. And I can't go anymore. Stop. That's where it gives me resistance. And that means that that's my high point. And I have this guy to show for it. So I'm going to anneal it and try and get up off the ground without my knees giving out. Come over here. Throw it down. And now that I have the shoulders pretty much established, I'm not going to need to worry about my pin marks. So I'll go ahead and anneal. What I want you to pay attention to is that you might see the flame color change when the metal gets to a particular temperature. When that metal color changes, or that flame color changes, you've reached a annealing point. Might be too much light for you guys to see that, but the color did change on the flame. Got more orange. The other thing that I'm going to do today that I don't normally do, just for time, is quench my metal after I anneal it. And I don't normally do that because I want the metal to be as relaxed as possible. And sometimes quenching can add a little bit of stress. So I'll go ahead and clean this off real quick. I'm not going to pickle, but I am going to make sure that my metal's removed all the scale using like a green scrubby pad. And what that's going to do is eliminate me introducing pickle acid to the steel. And I introduce acid to the steel, and it's worse than water. Will etch your rollers. So anytime you're using pickle and a rolling mill, you want to make sure you've got everything cleaned off. I still do it occasionally, but I'd rather practice not pickling metal I use in a rolling mill. I'd rather clean it off. A couple questions here. Is that a pizza stone under my soldering block? Yes, it is. The problem with the pizza stone is that sometimes if it gets too hot too quickly, it'll crack. But so far, it's worked pretty well. Let's see. No geometry. Yeah, it sucks. But the more I get involved in it, the more I like it. So I have my metal nice and cleaned off here. Basically, I just took my green scrub pad and cleaned off all the scale. Now, I'll show you in a little demonstration here why I don't like to quench or kind of what happens to the molecules of the metal when you work harden it. So hang on one moment. And I'll probably regret doing this because I'll have to pick them all off later. But what I'm going to do is kind of give a general idea, demonstration of what happens when you work hardened metal. I don't need that many. All right, so we have these little guys. These are steel shot for polishing. And right now they're loose, happy, just hanging out. And this is what the molecules of the metal looks like when it's annealed. Nice, loose, relaxed, not a whole lot going on there. And what we're going to end up doing is showing you kind of what happens to the molecules once you start work hardening them. So I'm going to do that by introducing a magnet. Now, all of those little bits and pieces are crammed super close together, not so relaxed. There's not a whole lot of room to move around. And basically what it makes it end up doing is puts it under so much stress that it breaks. It breaks, it cracks, it has to go somewhere. But that's kind of a cool demonstration on what happens to the molecules when it gets work hardened. It gives you an idea what's happening inside on a microscopic level. May not be the best, but I like using this as a descriptor for kind of what happens. In order to work your metal, you want them nice and relaxed. Right up here, just like that. All right, enough with that. Put those away. Stop with that funny business. And since we have our metal, we're going to go ahead and crank down quarter turn again and roll it through. Roll it through. And so now I have a little bit more. And now I've got this rolled all the way down to where using that particular groove is just a dead pass. So I'm going to go over 2 more grooves, clamp it down, and figure out where my dead pass is there. So once I have my dead pass there, I'll crank it down again and do the same thing. Crank it down again. Do the same thing. Switch sides. And just keep going. So right now I have basically this shape. Shut-up! I'm going to crank it down a little bit more. I'm starting to get a little bit of bending. But I'm liking the way it's looking. Turn it over. Do the other side. And you're able to feel where that shoulder is because you've established it. Everything past this point is going to be too hard to push through the roller, so you're good. Let's go ahead and ground that out. So right now, this is going to be, once I get done with this, this is going to be a dead pass for that particular groove. And I'll turn around and do both sides. It does both sides, but I like to make things symmetrical as much as I can. So now we have this. What you can do now is if you like the way that looks, you can find a half round roller and roll that through, or you can thin this down even more by going farther over to another groove. And I'm going to go just one more. There's my dead pass quarter turn. I want this down just a little bit more before I make it a half round. And then when I get done with that, I can go ahead and anneal it again, because now I'm really starting to get some curve to that. Okay, there we have the basic formation for that ring bend. Let's see. So the metal being compressed and the square grooves, or are those the round and Pepe? So this is a 160 mil. It's their combo. So it has their square rollers on this side, and it has their half round on this side. This is not their round one. I would like to try one of their new rolling mills with all wire. That would be absolutely amazing, and you'd be able to do different types of geometry on the ring band itself, which would be kind of fun. Do like a oval or something like that. So for now, let's go ahead and anneal this, and we'll move on. All right, there we go. We're annealed. Now we're going to go ahead and quench. Remember, I don't always quench, but for the sake of time and people watching and all that kind of fun stuff, we're going to go ahead and just quench. And then we'll clean it off. Make sure it's nice and dry. Last thing I wanted is introduce moisture to my rolling mill. You spend money buying a rolling mill, you got to take some time taking care of it. So I have this ring band now, and what I'm going to do to help it out is bring it over to my little bench anvil here, and I'm just going to help. So this is a half round, or excuse me, not a half round, but a planishing hammer. I'm hanging this portion, the big portion, off of the anvil because I don't want to hammer that. The other thing that you can do, if you don't want to do any kind of hammering, is you can bring it over to your rolling mill and figure out what a dead pass is. Roll that through, flatten that out. That's not... You straighten those out a little bit. So now I'm going to look at my geometry a little bit here. I find that this side here isn't as symmetrical as I'd like. So I'm going to take it back over to the last one I was using for square, and I'm going to help it out a little bit. And I might need to open that up to help kind of push it where I want it. Upside down. Do the same thing. And it's a little bit better. The other thing I can do is once I get to this point, if I want to make this portion, and get you guys actually focused. If I get to this shape here, maybe, let's try this. Focus. Good camera. If I get to this shape and I want to make this top portion a little bit wider, what I can do is just take my planishing hammer and give it some taps. Before I do that, though, I'm going to show you kind of what happened. So remember this was a 6mm before. Now it's 6.10, 6.9. The thickness was 2. We're still pretty good on thickness. Only lost maybe three microns or whatever they call them. The band itself here is 3.3 millimeters. And remember, our length was, what did I have it at, 60? Our length now is at 96. So we gained 30 millimeters, 36 millimeters just by doing that rolling. And we could go, and I kind of want to thin this out just a little bit. It is going to be a ring for me, so I don't want to make those too small. But what I'm going to do to kind of help that out, though, is use the half round rollers now. So the half rounds will actually help you in extending that band out a little bit. That was a dead pass. Do a quarter turn. Roll. Turn it around, do the same thing. A little bit of a turn. I don't want to go too much on this because I could flatten it out and go past the point in which I want. So now I have a nice half round here. On the tops, kind of flat, kind of rounded on the bottom. And actually it's looking really nice. I am going to open up my rollers a little bit and place them right here. Where am I at? There we go. I'm going to place them right here. See how this curvature is a little bit more smooth than this one? I'm going to place my rollers on the high point and then just slowly roll this way toward the band to smooth those out a little bit. Let's see if I can do that without screwing it up. The whole idea is that you're just gently trying to tell the metal what you want it to do. I'm still here. I'm just focusing. All right. So I evened that out a little bit, but in the process, I thinned down this area. It's probably back to about, I'd say it's a little under 6 millimeters. Yeah, it's 5.40. And it's probably a little thicker, maybe. Yeah, 2.7, 2.07. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help it out. Before I do that, I'm going to anneal because I want that metal to move relatively quick. And in order to do that, I'll need to anneal it. So let's move over here to annealing. So throw some comments in there. Are you guys liking the whole live feed thing? What can I do better? How can I suck less? And we'll go ahead and anneal while you guys are typing comments. There we go. Same thing, quench. And we'll go ahead and clean our metal off. Show you what's happening. So I try and put clean metal in the rolling mill. Nice and buttery right now. Good. All right. So thank you, Carl. Carrie, sorry. I need glasses. All right. So the way we understand metal moving, I'm going to draw some pictures here. I like pictures. I'm very visual. Try and focus in on our picture anvil. So if I have metal and I have a hammer like this, the hammer face is round and domed. So when I strike, say I strike here, my metal's going to move in these directions because that's the shape of the hammer. Now, scratchies. If I have let's use the other side of this. If I have a little ball peen, my strike is going to be like that, and it's going to move in all those directions. But it's going to move in a less substantial way than, say, this one. If I have a cross peen like this, my face looks like that. And my strike is going to be basically this. So I strike here, and my metal is going to move this way and this way. Very minimally this way, not a whole lot. So the hammer I choose to move the metal is directly related to the way you want the metal to move. So if I want to widen this band out or widen this band out, I'm going to use a hammer that allows me to move that metal in the direction I want it to, which is going to be this guy. Now, if I wanted to elongate the metal this way, that way, I would use a cross peen hammered in the center. That way I'd move the metal in that direction. I don't want that. What I want to do is make that a little bit wider. Before we do that, I think I measured before and it was, what, 5.7? Now I have a wider band. My thickness was 2 mil. It's 1.56 now, but my width is up to 6.71 versus the 5.7 that we're at. So went up substantial, 1 mil. And now I'm just going to use my smaller one. Kind of even that out a little bit. I'm on the back side just so that I can straighten that out a bit. I don't want to hammer it in such a way that my half round on this side goes away. Once I get there, though, I have these hammer marks. Those hammer marks, depending on what you're going to put there, could be cumbersome. So I'm going to open my mill. I'm going to put that new flat spot right in the center. And I'm just going to tip you guys up to see. Let's get close. Extreme close up. Maybe that works. See if we can focus it better. There we go. So I have the center of that clamped in my mill, and I'm just going to roll it back and forth. Those are dead pass. I'm going to clamp it turn my knob until it touches, doesn't go anymore. I'm not pushing down on it, but what I am doing is slowly flattening out that area so it's uniform. Now I can take it out, and I have a uniform, semi-uniform. I'll turn it around, do the other side too. Not rolling much. I'm just going back and forth, and I'm pressing that. So now I have an evened out band for the top. My metal is now uniform thickness where I did my hammering. Focus. Focusing on shiny stuff is hard. So let's look at our comments. So why hammer it instead of just running it through the mill? The reason is that the mill is very focused on one area. If I want to, let's bring you guys out again. If I want to focus moving the metal in a certain area, I'll use a hammer and basically accurate hammer strikes to move the metal from here out and then from here out. So my hammer strikes were right along this edge so that I would push this metal out this way. If I were just going to roll, I have, think about the way we were just talking about hammers. The rollers have a pressure point rolling it left and right. So rolling it this way, up and down. That means my force spreads the metal out. It doesn't bring it this way. So using the hammer strikes in an accurately, hopefully accurate way, I would be able to move the metal this way and then roll it flat to create a uniformity, if that makes sense, Kate. So now when I got done with that, my metal is just a little bit wider, 6.85. The thickness is 1.44. It started off at 2 mil, and my band is still a little bit more than 2 mil, 2.13. And the reason for this, all that metal was pushed up and formed into a ring band. We didn't delete it. So you can see where this type of technique would be beneficial compared to, sorry, I had to grab my stock, would be beneficial compared to taking and sawing this design out from this. because I have a 30 millimeter piece of this metal. It's 30 or 60? 60 millimeter. And now by rolling, I have roughly the same thickness of metal, but I have the profiles I want, and I'm at 102 millimeters long, which is much closer to where I want a ring band to be. So what I'm going to do now before I do anything else is I'm going to go ahead and anneal again. I know all this annealing, but guess what? The metal is starting to harden. It is. So that's why we're going to go ahead and anneal it. And torch. Here we go. Bring you guys up. I know how much you love fire. Quench. And we'll go ahead and dry it off. And we'll go ahead and bring you guys back to kind of the center of the action here. Bring him back. Exactly, Kate. It would elongate versus spreading it out. So I use focused hammer blows in the areas that I want to spread out so that I'm able to accomplish that, and then I can flatten it out using the mill. So my profile isn't much different than what it was. Still has, I'm focusing on you guys here. I have my flat section here. This portion is half round. This portion is flat, and I have a slight bevel on that edge, which makes comfortable ring band. Where am I? There I am. So that bevel makes for a comfortable ring band. And that can be sanded out. Anytime you get to a point like this where you have your kind of finished metal, I like to finish it as much as I possibly can before I end up doing soldering or anything else. So I really think that the rolling mill stuff is done at this point. The next thing I'm going to want to do is, since I'm flat, I'm going to want to go ahead and hit it with my touch mark. So we'll go ahead and do that. Find my mark somewhere in here. I know I saw it. Yeah, I don't know where it's at. Look, one more place, and then we'll get on with this. Found it. Okay. Because we're open now, I'm going to go ahead and verify that I'm stamping on the right side. Here's my half rounds. I want to move it on the back, and I'm going to go ahead and pick a place to go ahead and stamp. I'm going to stamp it right up here. My stamping hammer. You guys see stamp? There's my stamp. my lion stamp. And since this is sterling, I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with a sterling. Let's see what a little sterling stamp is. I'll go ahead and do this one on the band here. Good. All right. So now what we're going to do is grab a little bit of sandpaper. And I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a clean in. Zoom out so you can see what's happening. All right, so I have nice sanded ring band. Because I didn't do a whole lot of sawing or filing, most of my edges are already smooth. The only place you'll see some hard edges are here. So what I'm going to do now is let's do some welding. Let's see, if I mixed silvers, i.e. sterling and fine, and argentium, all in the scrap pile together, is it okay to melt them together and then won't it be marked? No. So there's alloying. Anytime you mark something that is scrap, you're running a risk of false advertising on what it is. So what I would recommend is, let's get up here. So we're talking up here. Sorry about the fun stuff. Anytime you mix metals like that, I would be very leery about marking it with anything because you don't know. I would say it's recycled silver. That's how I would advertise it. Recycled silver. The alloying of that silver is unknown, but it's made from recycled bits. Sometimes that's a selling point in of itself. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Let's see. And I will do recycled silver stuff. I just will not mark it sterling or fine just because it's not the right thing to do. So now let's say we do some welding. So I'll move you guys over to the welder. Sorry about the seasickness again. And I might not be able to see comments. I'm going to try and move the computer as well. But the welder's over here. And I am going to have to move my camera over there as well. So let's see what we can do. We'll do our best. One moment, please. Move this back. All right, so here's our welder. I'm going to try and bring our computer along so I can answer questions. We'll find out if that's possible. Uh-oh. And we're back. Didn't like that. No, we're not going anywhere. All right, now we're back. So I'll go ahead and maybe hang on a second, folks. If you can hear me, I'm working on getting my camera back online. Oh, let's see. Let's find the camera. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. That would be great. I'm working out what's happening with the camera at the moment. Okay. All right, good. Well, we're taking a little intermission at the moment while I figure out exactly what's wrong with the camera. So while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and bring you guys here. And we'll try to get our EOS back up. Does not like that. So we'll come back here. Hey, how's it going? And we'll find our EOS. This is the type of miscellaneous stuff that we tried to fix. Let's see. I'm supposed to have a little ticker there too. EOS utility. Technology. Get out of that. Move you guys back. Where's my chat? Comments. Don't you love live? I do. I do love live. I love live. So we're just taking a short intermission. If you guys need to grab some tea or a coffee or refreshments or a bathroom break, let me go ahead and figure out what the heck is going on with this guy. Let's see. Cam. Silly camera. Wait for it. Huh. All right, so we're going to do something different. I'm going to unplug my web camera. I'm going to grab my cables, and we're going to do this on the webcam for the computer. Should work just fine, but we're punting. This is what happens when we have mistakes, or mistakes, when technology tricks us into thinking that we have it all figured out. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just make some changes in how we're filming, and we'll go from there. I'll have to figure out the camera thing in a little bit. Not while I'm hanging out with you guys, but since we have all sorts of fun stuff planned, I don't want to stop that. Now, I can actually see what you guys are saying in the live stream. I didn't need that anyway. All right, so put that down first. Say hi. Grab you guys. Make sure we're good. All right. Now, I'm going to come around to you guys. This reminds me that I probably should be cleaning relatively soon because things are a mess. I'm a mess. All right. So here we are. Sorry, it's not as great quality as I'd like, but what I have in front of me is an Orion 200i3 pulse arc welder. And it is how I'm going to texture the top of this ring band to look like really awesome weld beads. So the first thing I need to do is plug in my grounding clip, and my gas is on. And what I'm going to do is make sure I'm welding on the right side of this. I'm going to just start doing a little bit of arc welding. So you guys get to watch. This can be a little bit of tediousness. I don't know if I can zoom my webcam or not. I can't. So I'll try and get it up close. This will get hot because silver is an excellent conductor of electricity. And I have my settings pretty much where I want them. And my welder's on, and let's check this out. Find out where I'm at. There we go. It's looking good. A minute here, I'll take a break and show you guys. I'm going to turn my power down just a little bit. But we have, let's see, good to go. Yeah, so it's really hot right now. You can see the texture I'm creating with the weld patterns. Let's go ahead and see what it's looking like. It's not looking bad. So I am going to turn my power down a little bit. I'm going to try and create a little bit less pitting, more weld pattern. And I'm going to grab another pair of pliers to grab this on because it is getting hot. Okay, so far so good. Takes longer with an arc welder than using a torch. No, it takes a lot quicker with an arc welder, but what I'm doing here is I'm not welding the band together. I'm creating texture on the top of the band using the arc welder, which is not necessarily something that you see very often, but I figured I have one, so I might as well do something that I have never seen. I'm going to take a minute, let this cool off a little bit, but I have, hey Randy, thanks for joining. We're doing a little bit of texture with pulse arc welder. Who doesn't love awesome weld beads? All right, well, let's keep going. That's fun. Like I said, it is very hot right now. Obviously, you're pumping a bunch of electricity and so about half done. Taking a little break here. It's looking really cool. And let's keep it going. Yeah, it's looking cool. Let's finish this off. All right. So basically, I have the beginning of my ring band there. And what I'm going to do now is we're just going to weld it together. We're going to weld the band together. I'm not going to worry about making anything flat. I'm not going to worry about making anything even. Like on a ring band, when you make a solder connection, you want everything to be really, really. Let's see if we're too high here for that. Really, really even. No cracks. None of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to worry about that here with the pulse arc. What I'm going to do is get these aligned so that I have basically a close connection. So my connection is going to be, see if you guys can see it there. You see the light through there? That's going to be okay. So let me ground it out. What I am going to do though is even that. There's a little piece that's sticking out. I'm going to even it out so they're both kind of parallel to each other. All right, so I have flat-ish pieces. And now it's just kind of basically pressed together. There's a gap in there. I can see the gap, but honestly, it's going to be okay. It is using argon, Randy. Currently, it's at 9 psi argon. All right, so I'm going to weld right in the center of that gap, and it should join the two almost immediately. Okay, one side's joined. I'm going to switch out these long ones for these littler guys. And then I'm going to go ahead and weld in the other side. Okay, both sides here on this side and this side are welded together now. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit it right in the center. I turn up my power a little bit so that when the electrode hits, I want it to heat up the metal and all around, and that way it will kind of all blend in with each other. I'm not adding any material to this weld, but I do want where I hit and the surrounding area to all melt and coagulate into one cohesive piece of silver. That's basically it. All put together now. It is a little bit hot, and I may move around and just kind of. The nice thing about this is that you can spread metal in different directions. So it's hey Randy, have a good one. We'll see you soon. All right, so welds are done. There's going to be a little bit of filing that I'll need to do in order to kind of clean up everything, but everything is looking nice. Nice, very nice. Go ahead and grab a mandrel, and I'm going to use the octagonal mandrel for this guy. All right, so we have the Pepetools octagonal mandrel. It's going to be a big ring. Normally, what I'll probably end up doing is cutting it and resizing it, but I wanted to at least show that there's my weld, and there's no solder there. You can heat this up. You can do all sorts of other fun stuff with it, but that's basically it. I'm going to post some pictures on Instagram. The YouTube picture for this one will eventually be posted up there, but that's kind of what I've got for today. It's been about an hour and a half tutorial. You can tell that the ring band itself, that part didn't take very long. Didn't take very long at all. So making your own stock, one, it saves money when it comes to cutting material out because you can form it in your mill and make your material go longer without having all the scrap. Two, you can mess around with the geometry of the rolling mill and have it do certain different things. So that's kind of the advantages of this, is that you can do all sorts of fun, interesting stuff with it and not have to waste material. That's kind of the fun part. Can you use sterling and fine with the welder? Yep. Sterling, fine, titanium. I was welding on titanium earlier. Stainless steel, copper, brass, niobium, you name it, you could probably weld on it with this. Now, the electrodes are very, very small. So you're not going to be welding huge things with this, but I plan on using this for tool construction and that kind of thing. So should be kind of fun to see how I can use this in tool production and jewelry and everything else, eyeglasses, fixing eyeglasses, that kind of thing. So if you guys haven't already, check out linepunchforge.com. You can click through linepunchforge.com to Pepetools, and if you purchase something through them, I get a little something for it. I appreciate that. Also, I posted some links to my Amazon store. Some of the products you saw here today can be found on Amazon. If you're looking for a welder, use that Pepetools link to head over there and get yourself a welder. Here we're getting some stimulus checks. So yeah, stimulus checks, welders, good times. Appreciate you guys. I hope that everything goes well, and we'll hopefully do more of these kind of live things more often. And yeah, see you around. Leave me a comment, send me a message, tell me what you think. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe because I'm not the boss of you, but I will ask. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down there if you're watching from YouTube. if you're not watching from YouTube, head over to that YouTube channel and think about hitting that red subscribe button. It all helps. See you guys soon, and hope to hear from you. I can't touch screen with my computer. I'm an idiot.